Welcome, Gunrunner.
Hey everybody, Kieran aka the Retrolad here, and I've got a hardware review for you this week in my usual schedule of 2 documentaries and then a week off to do a hardware review and back to the same again. So this week is hardware review week, and this one is quite perfectly timed in many ways because although this Atari Flashback 8 Gold, which is what I'm reviewing today, has been out for quite a while, it's for those in the UK. It is available for under £30 right now on Amazon. They've got it in their sale. I think it was originally 80, so it's a massive discount, having it under £30. In fact, I think I saw yesterday that it actually gone to 28. I bought it at 30, but I think it's actually now gone to 28. It's even cheaper. But I did notice after a friend pointed out that that price seems to actually be it seems to be a similar price on Amazon as well. So if you're not in the UK, it looks like you can get these on a discount on Amazon as well. So I assume that AtGames, who made these for Atari, are clearing them out at a nice discount price. So lots of retailers do seem to be carrying them at that bargain price. But as I said, I went around the corner to my local Argos and picked one up from there. And I will go into the thing in a bit more detail, but first of all, I wanted to show the differences between the original model and the Flashback Gold. I don't mean the original, the Flashback, I should say. I mean the original 2600, because I thought that would be cool to see. So there we are. There's my original 6-switch wood grain 2600 VCS, or video computer system as they were called then. Lovely wood grain fascia and everything. This one has appeared on the cover of Retro Gamer magazine as well, so it's a famous VCS. And here is, of course, the plasticky Flashback, made out of quite cheap plastic and quite rattly, as you can feel, so nowhere near the build quality that the original VCSs were. And it has these kind of plonky plastic buttons on the top, but they kind of got the looks right. The wood grain doesn't go all the way along the front, you can see, so it's got plastic, and the joystick ports are on the front instead of being on the back like they are in the original 2600. What have we got here? Power, start, difficulty left and right. So instead of the difficulty switches, you've got difficulty buttons. That's a select button. There's power on the back there. That's pretty much it. There's nothing on the sides. Oh, actually, no, there is, because there's an HDMI socket, of course, which you need to connect it to the TV. And actually, that's one of the things worth mentioning about this, is that this model, as you can see on the box actually there, it says HD in the corner. And that's because this is HDMI only, which the previous models weren't. So this is a new thing for this to have HDMI. It also has battery backup in it, so to speak, or flash memory, I should say, to save games. Wireless controllers, and that's the next thing I'll look at as well, mention the wireless controllers. So this is the controller you get with the Flashback, and I've got here for comparison an original CX40. So there we go. It is slightly smaller. I don't know if you can see that, ever so slightly, not a big difference, just a slight bit smaller. The height is identical though. The buttons look the same. It still has the same markings. That says P1 down in the corner there, though. I haven't got it on camera because I'm looking over the camera. It says it's P1, and the P2 stick you get in their box as well. And on the front, it has reset, select, start, and replay. So you can do action replays from the stick as well. So the second controller doesn't have these buttons at all. It is just completely blank. So you need to make sure that when you do plug it in, you get the Player 1 controller set up, because the other one doesn't have the buttons. But as I was going to say, that also means, because it's wireless, you do not have to get up to press the buttons on the console. So you can have that set up by the TV and then sit on the sofa with your controller. It's very light, I should say, and it takes 2 AAA batteries which go in there, 2 of them. So that's pretty easy stuff. It has a screw hole as well, which is quite annoying, so I had to try and find a screwdriver that fitted that particular screw. Yeah, so the old one is a lot weightier, a lot heavier. But what I will say is that where these old ones are known for being a fairly stiff joystick, this one has as you can probably actually see already, has a lot more movement. It's a lot less stiff, and it feels a lot nicer. It does cramp in your hand after a little while, like the old stick did, but generally the movement on it is much nicer than on the original CX40s. And you might have already worked this out, but obviously I mentioned that these controllers are wireless, but the Flashback itself still has joystick ports on the front, and you can probably see that yes, you can plug in an authentic Atari controller if you wish to do that, because it has a proper Atari D 9-pin socket, albeit upside down. But yes, you can use original controllers on it if you want to, or if you had a preferred joystick that you used to use with your 2600, you know, like a Quick Shot or Cheetah or Competition Pro or whatever, you can plug all of those in and use them on there. Let's have a little look at the box for a minute, because it's not all of it's in frame, and tell you some more things about the actual box and what's in it. So you obviously get your two controllers, your console, and you get like a generic user manual thing, your HDMI cable, and your power supply. So everything you'd expect to find. I'm not going to bother with the whole unboxing thing, so I think it's quite pointless. I can just tell you. So a big thing about this one has more games on it than any other Flashback they've ever made, as it proudly proclaims it has 120. And that's because it doesn't just have the same old Atari titles on it that you get on all of these Flashback consoles. It also has stuff by Activision, as you can see, like Pitfall, which it shows off about there. It has stuff from M Network, aka Mattel Electronics label that they use for the 2600. And it has some other stuff on it as well, which I'll go into in a moment. But we'll look at the game selection on the back. Oh, I'm going to show you the console working in due course, but have a look at the back while I point this out. You can see there it's like Air Raiders, M Network, Beam Rider, Activision, and obviously all the Atari games. But the other ones I'm about to mention is they've acquired a license with this for Taito's games. So that means you have Space Invaders. That means you have Polaris, which was actually published by Tiger Vision, but was a Taito arcade license. You have Frontline, which was done by Coleco, but again, it was a Taito arcade license. You've got Taito games on it, and you've also got Frogger, which is the only Konami game that they've licensed on there. That is the only one. Is just Frogger, which I can't even see it on here now that's on there. It's actually not maybe it doesn't show on the back of the box. That is strange. But, oh yes, it says there are many more, so it doesn't show them. But the thing is, which I will actually show you when I've hooked it up, is that I mentioned this actually on my review of the handheld Flashback, which I really loved actually. And if you want to see my review of the handheld Flashback, I'll stick the link up in the top corner now, so you can go and check that out, because there are quite a few big differences between this one and the Flashback. Actually, I'm going to mention one of those now, and that's that the Flashback has an SD card slot, so you can load extra games onto it, but this doesn't. And I thought it would. I thought it had one on the front somewhere. I was under the assumption that it would do, and it doesn't. So that's a big advantage of the Flashback handheld, is you can still connect that up to the TV, but it has the SD card slot, so you can add as many games as you like. This one, you are restricted to these 120 games that are included on there. But going back to the games for a moment, as well as the stuff I've mentioned, there's also prototypes on there that were never released. Like you've got Wizard, you've got Tempest, Frog Pond. There are a few of the ones that were prototypes that were never released, so you've got some of those on there, which is quite cool as well. But generally, yeah, the game selection is pretty good. And another thing actually mentioned, because you probably noticed it, it's got stuff like Warlords and Breakout on here, which use the paddles, and all of those games have been adjusted to work with the joystick, and they actually work better than you'd probably expect. Same with actually the Indy 500, which is obviously made for the driving controllers. So all of those ones that were either paddles or driving controllers or video touchpad, like for example Star Raiders, which is on there, that's been remapped slightly, and it tells you what buttons do what before the game actually starts. So yes, you have all of those on there as well. Right, so let's cut away now, and I will show you this thing up and running, so you can get a bit more insight into how the games play and how it looks when it's plugged in. So here we are. So this is what the Flashback 8 Gold looks like when it's up and running. So there's no menu music or anything like that. We've just got this rather nice looking menu where you've got a little list at the side. You can choose from my favourites, recently played, alphabetical, Atari games, Activision games. A little joystick diagram there tells you what all the buttons are for selecting the different menu options, etc. And then we've got the games themselves. So I've lined them up in alphabetical order so we can have a look at them. So 3D Tic-Tac-Toe, Adventure, Adventure 2, which is a homebrew. I forgot to mention that there is a few homebrews on here as well as the other stuff. Air Raiders Mattel, so Airseed Battle, Atari Climber, another homebrew, Astro Blast, Asteroids, Armor Ambush, Aqua Adventure, which I think is a prototype if I remember rightly. Backgammon, Basketball, Boom Rider, Blackjack, Bowling, Breakout, Canyon Bomber, Centipede, Championship Soccer, aka Pele Soccer, as it's also named. Chase It, which is a homebrew game. Chopper Command, Circus Atari, Combat 2, prototype. Cosmic Commuter, Crackpots, Crystal Castles, Dark Cavern, Decathlon, and Demons to Diamonds. Desert Falcon, Dodge 'em, Double Dunk, Dragster, Enduro. Escape It, which is a homebrew. Fatal Run, Fishing Derby, Flag Capture, and Football. Frog Pond, which is a prototype. Frogger, Frogs and Flies, Frontline, Frostbite, Fun with Numbers, Golf, Gravitar, Hero, and Hangman. Haunted House, Home Run, Human Cannonball, Indy 500, International Soccer, Jungle Hunt, Kaboom, Keystone Capers, Maze Crazy, Megamania. Millipede, Miniature Golf, Miss It, which is a homebrew, Missile Command, Motor Rodeo, Night Driver, Off the Wall, Oink, Outlaw, and Pitfall. Polaris, Video Olympics, Pressure Cooker, Radar Lock, Real Sports Baseball, Real Sports Basketball, Real Sports Soccer, Real Sports Volleyball, Return to Haunted House, River Raid. Saboteur, Save Mary, prototype. Sea Battle, Sea Quest, Secret Quest, Shield Shift, which is a homebrew. Skydiver, Slot Machine, Slot Racer, Solaris, which in my opinion is the best game on the 2600 full stop. So I was very pleased to see that on here. Space Attack, Space Invaders, Space War, Sprint Master, Stampede, Starship, Star Strike, Star Master, Steeplechase, Stellar Track. Steeplechase and Stellar Track were, reason why the labels are so different is they were games that were only released by Sears, who had their own officially licensed version of the Atari 2600 in North America called the Sears Video Arcade. So they had a couple of exclusive games, which are those two. Street Racer, Submarine Commander, that might be another one of their games. Maybe there was more than two. Super Baseball, Super Breakout, Super Challenge Baseball, Super Challenge Football, Super Football Surround, Sword Fight, which is actually a Mattel prototype, so that's pretty cool. Sword Quest Earthworld, Sword Quest Farworld, Sword Quest Waterworld, Tempest, Video Checkers, Video Chess, Video Pinball, Warlords, Wizard, Tempest Wizard, and Sword Quest Waterworld, I think are all prototypes. Yard's Revenge, Yard's Return, which was a game that was especially made for the Flashback consoles. It's a homebrew, but it's especially made for the Flashback consoles. That's pretty cool. And that's it. So as you can see, the games list is actually really good. There's some of the best games released on the 2600 on there, and especially with all the Activision stuff on there, makes it even better. Although you'll notice that there are quite a few Activision games that are missing. They're not all there, so it's kind of like a selection. Most notably, Pitfall 2 isn't there, probably because it needed the extra chip in the cartridge, to do the music and that kind of thing. They had extra memory in that. So that's not on there. Some of the later stuff also isn't on there either, like for example River Raid 2. And then there's a fair bit of stuff where it's not on there, obviously because they would have to get additional licensing, like for example Ghostbusters, Kung Fu Master, Double Dragon, etc. So these aren't on there. I do think it would have been nicer if they'd put the Activision prototypes on there, like Kabobba and it's when they're called Hard Head or something like that. So those ones would have been nice if they'd put those on there to play. But we can't have it all. 120 games, I think, on a plug-and-play console is pretty good. And yes, there is some crap on here. Like, in my opinion, they really didn't need to put on Fun with Numbers, for example. I don't think they put Basic Math on this, which they quite often put on them, or Math Grand Prix. So they actually have missed off a couple of the crap ones that they usually put on here, but they have actually left Fun with Numbers in there, which is probably the most pointless game on the whole thing. But yeah, I'll show you what I mean about the games that they've changed. So let's, for example, stick on Frogger. So you can see this. So before each game starts, it tells you all the controls, which is quite good for ones where they need additional mapping because they used difficulty switches or whatever on the original console. And there we go, and we're into the game, and you'll see this is just basically the arcade game. So, and in all honesty, I can understand in a way why they did it, because I'm guessing that they're kind of wanted people to have an authentic Frogger, you know, experience, protecting their IP in some way or some shape or form. But personally, I don't want to have this version because this isn't the version I have the nostalgia for. The version I have the nostalgia for is the Atari 2600 version. So I do wish that they'd put the 2600 version on here and not this kind of arcade remake. And I'll show you this with a few more games as well. So Space Invaders, here's another example for you. So again, you'll see we have basically a recreation of the arcade version, but albeit with colour, rather than the 2600 version. Again, this is probably one that's even more criminal for me than Frogger, because I loved the Atari 2600 version of Space Invaders with its 112 different options, because some of the options on there were brilliant, you know, the two-player game, and you know, the way you could change the size of the ships and the bases and invisible aliens and all that stuff. And yeah, I think it's a real shame that we've got this version instead of the proper Atari 2600 version. And yeah, they've kind of done that with a lot of these ones that are licensed, but not all of them, strangely enough. If I remember rightly, there's some that aren't. So I think, for example, Polaris is one where they've actually have used the Atari 2600 version. Yes, see? So this is another one of the Taito licenses, but for some reason with this one they have used the 2600 version. So it's rather strange. You know, that with some they have and with some they haven't. Jungle Hunt's another example, actually, because another, obviously, Taito arcade license. That is the Atari 2600 version, which I'm pleased about, because I really liked Jungle Hunt, and again, it's a game that I have a fair bit of nostalgia for. So I was pleased to see that on there as well. So I'm trying to show you as much as possible in a short time. So let's give a good example of the quality, actually, of the graphics. This is on a 50-inch television at the moment, so it gives you a good idea of how good quality it is on a modern TV, which, you know, I don't think you kind of expect. They've really done a great job with the video output to get it to look so nice on a modern TV. And that's Solaris. I don't think there's a 2600 game with better graphics, so we'll show you that. So this is an interesting game as well, because Solaris was originally supposed to be a game of the movie The Last Starfighter, but after the movie bombed in the cinemas, Atari sat on it for a little while and then changed the name and released it as Solaris. So, and this was programmed by Doug Neubauer, who was also the creator of the Pokey chip that appeared in the Atari 8-bit computers, and was a creator for the original Star Raiders game as well. There are certainly quite a few similarities between Solaris and Star Raiders, and this is a bit more arcade-like. But it's an absolutely fantastic game, as you can see. The star maps and the warp sequences look amazing. I can still remember my dad coming into the room when I was playing this as a kid and saying, "That's not an Atari 2600 game you're playing, is it?" And I was like, "Yes, it is," because he couldn't believe how good the graphics looked compared to other 2600 games. That noise there means that there's a planet under attack. So yeah, I mean, the sound sounds correct. The control is absolutely no lag whatsoever, which is, I know, is another bugbear with a lot of these plug and play systems, that there is some kind of lag between the controller, especially since obviously it's a wireless controller as well. So there's even less gameplay lag. So yeah, you know, really impressed generally with the job I've done with this. And I didn't buy any of the previous Flashback consoles that were released, but I had tried a few of them out, and you know, none of them are as good as this. The only shame is that I think with the Flashback 2 you could hack it and add a cartridge port. But it's a shame you couldn't do that with this one. But yeah, you can see it's fantastic. Really is good. Let's go back to there a moment. And yeah, you know, there's not really a lot more I can show you really. I'll show you. I'll stick on one of the Activision games just while give a bit of a summary. So just flick through the whole list again, which I didn't mean to do. But yeah, overall, I mean, I really can't fault this. I mean, at 30 quid, which is what I paid for it, I just think it's an absolute bargain. 120 games with an absolute ton of classics for you know, for £30. You get this amazing picture off a modern TV, which certainly helps as well. You know, you've got your 2 joysticks, you've got 2-player. You can use original controllers if you want it to be even more authentic. You've got a really nice picture on a modern TV. You've got, you know, really good sound effects as well that sound great. Everything, you know, about it is authentic. The only thing that I can say negative about this unit is really that it should have had a SD card slot included, in my opinion. So it's a shame they didn't put that in. But yes, overall, I'm a big fan of the Flashback 8 Gold, and if you've got 30 quid to spare, I seriously recommend you go and pick one up now before they run out everywhere. So I thank you for watching my review of the Atari Flashback 8 Gold, and I will see you all again for another video very soon. Bye bye.